lot of different terms. All right, Mike, if you want to go ahead and do your intro here.
Yeah, I started in real estate in 2006. Was in TV broadcasting prior to that. Really didn't have any knowledge of what real estate was. Kind of backed into the real estate business. Since then, I've done a bunch of short sales, closed over 350. Have quite a substantial real estate portfolio, a number of LLCs. I operate in 2 states now, both Texas and Illinois, since moving up here. Pretty excited about what all is going on and how involved we've gotten into this. Multiple rehabs really is kind of my specialty. Got up here, had heard a lot about Mike Cuevas and had to call him and talk to him and have started a really cool thing up here with him.
And Mike, how did you sort of find me? We sort of met, and it was sort of like a match made in heaven, I think.
Yeah, this whole real estate thing is a pretty small community. Although it's nationwide, it's a small community of people that are doing business. You start to figure out who's doing business and who's doing it the right way and who's involved with who and what groups you kind of run in. And I think you were out in Las Vegas and I was moving up to Chicago, and we both were good friends with Jason Medley and also Jeff Watson, and kind of hooked up and started. I always talk about dating before you get married, and so we talked a bunch, and now realized that we kind of have some of the same goals and we think a lot alike, and started looking at rehab projects, and that's kind of how this has developed.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. We sort of share the same goals in terms of focus. We focus on helping people, but a lot of times when I do these things, and Mike, it's been a pleasure meeting you, and I appreciate you having me on this call. And what I'm going to share with a lot of you guys today, for those of you who have not met me or have not heard me speak before or anything, I'll just give you a quick brief background. I'm not one to talk about myself or do anything like that, but my name's Mike Cuevas. I probably closed near, I don't know, dude, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 short sales. I have no idea. I know we've negotiated well over 1,000 liens. I'm involved in some local RPAC, as a Realtor Political Action Committee. I'm involved in a lobbying effort in D.C. to better short sale processes. And I do train agents around and all over the country. But if you want to go ahead and look me up, go right ahead. But this is more about you guys. And what a lot of people don't understand is that the short sale market, a lot of agents, if there's a lot of realtors on this call, the short sale market is an absolute leverage ability. I mean, there's so much leverage inside the short sale market that most realtors tend to overlook. And this is a quick snapshot on my 3 quarters of a year, my from March through December, my team's 9-month production, that's roughly 60 million. So we actually did a little bit more and whatnot. And this is basically the challenges that a lot of agents, brokerages face with the loss mitigation aspect of it, which is a very crucial part of the short sale transaction. And this is what I hear constantly around the country. Mike, I'm sure you've seen this as you work with a lot of realtors both in Texas and now that you're up here in Chicago. But what do they say? Bank's going to cut my commission. I hate the process. They take too long. This market's coming back. For a while, there's a large brokerage who wouldn't even let their agents take on short sale listings. A key stat I want to point out to everybody in the call and who's paying attention right now. And you guys have to understand something. Roughly 31% of short sales actually close, okay? The last quarter I saw the statistics, closed transactions represented roughly short sales were 10% of the market. All right. So if 90% of short sales closed, how much of the market would they represent? Would it be 30%, 40% of the market? And my intuition tells me yes, it absolutely would be. And it's all comes down to treating short sales and running it like a system. All right. Everything you see here, and you have to. Short sales, negotiating short sales, taking listings is nothing like it's all just one large system. For example, you have System of a Down, who looks like a bunch of freakazoids on their own, but together they play great music. And that's the way you have to systemize your business. You have to systemize your business just like this system, this is a very interesting system that never seems to fail. How many times does a casino lose in a week? It's very, very, very rare. But the main point here is that a lot of this stuff starts out with lead generation, okay? The hardest, most difficult part of any agent out there is literally lead gen, all right? We experience things known as peaks and valleys. And when it comes to short sales, a lot of agents spend so much time lead generating, then they spend all their time negotiating the file and selling that listing that they hit this peak of valleys sort of concept. And what I'm going to share with you guys today are three main ways that I get the majority of my business. Actually, I would probably credit this to about 98% of my business on the lead gen scenario. And this is very, very important to understand, you guys. So first and foremost, you got to have strategic alliances, okay? Second is database marketing. And 3 is direct marketing, otherwise known as direct mail. I like to call it more direct marketing. And let's go through some of these scenarios. And Mike, question for you.
Yes.
All right, so Mike actually understands this concept. It's one of the reasons why I think we gel so well together. But very, very quickly, how key are bankruptcy attorneys, real estate attorneys, let's say foreclosure defense attorneys? How about divorce attorneys? Divorce is up in a down economy, right?
Yeah, and that's where I've started to find some leads is through a bank. I met a bankruptcy attorney up here, Mike, that I've told you about, that the initial conversation she didn't have an outlet for. She had probably stacked from one end of her office to the other, file after file after file of cases. And when we met, I said, well, all of these are your bankruptcies. And she goes, yeah, these are all people that lost their house. And I said, well, how many of them did short sales? And she scratched her head and she says, you know what? Probably about half of those people could have really qualified. So that's one person that could bring 50 to 100 new cases a year. So never think that just because the attorneys are an attorney that they're on the ball and they understand kind of what's going on.
Sure, and what I was gonna do, Mike, I could go on for 3 hours. I train this for 3 hours, but I'm gonna specifically point out bankruptcy attorneys very specifically, if that's okay. And I want to give you guys some how to approach them. What people have to understand is that the short sale market was nothing that was ever taught or trained in college or grad school or high school or preschool, but it's a very, very difficult, different type of business. And to be honest with you, what a lot of people don't understand is that just because an individual may be an attorney does not make them the jack of all trades or that they know the answer to everything. And quite frankly, you see a lot of different, one of the largest lead sources, you guys, is literally bankruptcy attorneys, okay? And I'm going to use a bankruptcy attorney as an example of why there are so many lead sources and why they have so many clients for you. I mean, literally, as an agent or an investor, whoever it is that is, helping homeowners and, being an advocate with them, bankruptcy attorneys, 2 bankruptcy attorneys alone can literally fuel your entire business for the course of a year. And a lot of people don't look at it from that point of view. And let's go through pretty much what is the leverage point when approaching an attorney, okay?
Hey, Mike, before you get into this, let me just say the technical difficulty that we might have had. I've had a couple of people text me saying that some people have gotten locked out. The webinar has 100 people in it, and so some people are not getting on the call. So we will be replaying this for sure, so that everybody can hear it. We've had a bunch of people that have got turned away just because so many people wanted to get on the call.
No problem. Well, this is one they're going to want to absolutely hear because I don't usually show this, Mike. This is something I give to like our mastermind students, but I love you so much. I want to show everybody. I want to bring value to you guys. And if I can help you guys or help your people on this call, literally get more leads, which means they're going to help more homeowners, then I feel like I've done my job. And here's what the basic thing comes down to, you guys. Anyone can sell a house, okay? The MLS is going to sell the house for you 90% of the time, but not everyone can negotiate a short sale. So when you have your processes down pat, and I'm not going to get into the short sale negotiation aspect of it, but I will get into, if you know how to close and you could show that you have a 90+ success rate, percentile that is, in short sales, you can absolutely do some damage, and you can help attorneys make money. Okay, now I like to call these strategic alliances. I like to call it, bankruptcy attorneys, divorce attorneys, real estate attorneys. All right, I'm going to be completely blunt here, guys. If you guys have ever heard me speak, this is how I talk. Okay, I'm not a professional guru. Okay, I just know what I'm doing, and I'm very good at it. And most of these entities, they all suck at negotiating short sales in general. Okay, but they get a ton of short sale leads, and they don't do anything with them. Literally, they do nothing with them. Now, as a matter of fact, bankruptcy attorney filings, and I actually came across this on accident back in the day, back in 2007. I say back in the day like it was so long ago. But in 2007, I started getting a lot of leads from a bankruptcy attorney, and I really started studying where people go to first. Okay, who do people usually resort to first when they come across or they find themselves upside down, per se? And if you ever have watched late night television, you're going to understand that a lot of those commercials that are targeted are bankruptcy commercials, if you haven't noticed that. And, well, what do people do when they're stressed out? They can't sleep, so they're up at night, right? So bankruptcy attorneys was a very, very interesting lead generation and strategic alliance for me, and I sort of found them on accident. Well, what I ended up finding out was that roughly no time in history has there ever been let me put it this way. Out of bankruptcy attorney filings, okay, and these stats may be off. I did this research about a year ago, but I'm sure it's right around the same thing here. And for many bankruptcy attorney filings, you guys, roughly 60 to 70% of those clients
Muted.
properties. Maybe the reason they're filing bankruptcy, or they have some sort of property that is over leveraged and either thrown into the bankruptcy or somehow dealt with that. Now, statistically speaking, in years past, we've never had that situation pop off before. And the reason was that most people always had equity in their houses. Mike, if you ever seen, you're a little older than I am, Mike, but in years past,
Unmuted.
doing real estate in 2002, and let's just take when the 90s or so, most people who owned properties weren't filing bankruptcy. They actually had equity, because there's a thing called a down payment when you bought a house.
Right.
Remember you had to put down 20% down, and it was rare that somebody who owned a house would be in an insolvent position, that they would be in a position where they would actually have to surrender the property and be stuck with it. So that is what I found very, very interesting. And what happens, you guys, is that any time that any bankruptcy attorney comes into a borrower and they come they cross paths with the borrower, and that borrower has to file bankruptcy, what do they do with the property? And Mike, have you seen this?
Yeah, I mean, they just don't know what kind of exit strategies they can possibly have on some of these.
Absolutely, and they don't. Not only do they not know that, they don't know that this can be another income stream for their practices. So how many people can literally, whether you're an investor, whether you're a realtor, how many people literally can go up to a bankruptcy attorney and say, hey, how would you like to make more money this year? And you're losing a lot of money just by the business you're doing. It's a very powerful proposition to give to somebody. And what I want to share with you guys is that I want to give you an example of some of the myths of why bankruptcy attorneys typically do not offer short sale assistance when they're meeting with a client. Because, you guys, this is the truth, all right? Once a borrower files bankruptcy, okay, once they file bankruptcy, they are going to they're relieved from all liabilities of the property. Okay, they're protected from any deficiency. The lender's not going to come and chase them, and all of that fun stuff. But what's very, very important to understand is that the only way the lender or servicer can foreclose upon them is by means of foreclosure. The property eventually has to go to foreclosure, and that's the legal way for them to deed the property back, which goes on their credit history. Okay, so this is something that a borrower, and I'm going to give you a lot of other examples of the ins and outs, and most bankruptcy attorneys don't understand this. So when I did my study, I did a case study on this, and I researched and all this stuff, I found 5 common myths that most attorneys in a bankruptcy capacity, they usually have some sort of rebuttal, okay? And these are them. First one is they're typically like, hey, the short sale is going to trigger a taxable event and allow the lender to issue a 1099. This is sent to the IRS, and now that borrower is going to have to pay income tax on that, right? So what I tell them is, I said, well, the fact of that is literally is, well, due to the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007, the borrower is not going to have any taxable consequences with the property as long as, and for those of you who are not familiar with the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act of 2007, what it says in English so that a common person like you, Mike, or I would understand is that any borrower who receives a 1099 resulting in a foreclosure and or short sale, they are forgiven from any IRS tax liability only if A, it's that borrower's primary residence, and 2, if that borrower is deemed as insolvent. Okay? Now, the interesting thing is that the insolvency provision has always been in effect with the IRS code, and a lot of people don't know that. But the point is here is that when you get this type of rebuttal, no, Mike, your client's not going to have a taxable consequence because they're not going to have the Mortgage Forgiveness Debt Relief Act and or they're insolvent. I mean,
Mike, let me jump in. We've had somebody say that the webinar is asking for a password. I want to give the password out. If you have to log out, log back in, do so. But I think that's what the problem is for these others. The password to the webinar is Dovetail123. So that way you can hop back on the call, and put that password in, and you should be able to get in. It is full. We have 100 and something people listening on the phone, but some of those people can get back in by going and putting the password in. But we are going to repeat it, just so you guys do know it will be repeated.
No.
Okay.
So basically, you guys, is that as long as a borrower is deemed as insolvent, which they wouldn't be filing or qualifying for bankruptcy anyways, they're going to be able to file and write off the 1099 if one was triggered, which couldn't be. That gets into other laws. But long story short, you guys, the vast majority of the time, there's not going to be any taxable consequences on the result of the property to the borrower. Okay. Myth number 2, and this is something that is very, very important that a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of attorneys. I mean, this really just amazes me at the lack of education that's out there within the marketplace. And they're going to say, oh, it's going to damage your credit, Mike. You do a short sale, it's going to damage your credit, okay? It's going to damage your credit score. Now, I will admit that once somebody files bankruptcy, and I've done a ton of credit research. I've got my partner on my seat has actually done tons and tons of credit research. And the interesting thing on this is that yes, from a credit point deduction point of view, yes, it's not going to see much effect. But Mike, what about all those people that have their Series 7 license or they work for the government, and when you actually file BK and you have to answer yes to some of those on your employment forms, you can actually be denied employment.
And if you go to get an apartment or you go to buy a house, I mean, it's gonna stick. I mean, you're going to have to face with it down the road, and that's the biggest thing that I think people don't realize when they do file bankruptcy is they'll say, well, I'm just going to get rid of this and through bankruptcy. Well, you're going to fall out of that bankruptcy at some point. You're going to fall out. And I equate it to watching a movie, pressing pause, and then as soon as you're out of the bankruptcy, the bank just picks up right where they were.
Absolutely, and that's pretty much exactly what happens. And it hurts them on every bit because it's like getting 2 black eyes instead of 1, you know. As a matter of fact, if there's an HOA involved, any dollar amount from the HOA that accrues after the BK is filed is now owed by that borrower. So this is any condo buildings, anytime there's an HOA involved. It's absolutely nuts. It's crazy. Third is that there's no liability issues. They're like, well, my client doesn't need to do and this is sort of what Mike and I are talking about right now, is that my client doesn't need to do a short sale. They already did bankruptcy. The bank's not going to come after them for the difference. But people, what I'm telling you is that this is a value-added service that can only help that borrower. Okay, it's not a bad thing I'd rather have just a foreclosure or just a bankruptcy on my credit than to have both a bankruptcy and a foreclosure, because it does go on your report. It will beyond there, and it's not good. From a creditor point of view, a credit card, Mike, you mentioned renting an apartment. How about getting a car loan? What about those borrowers that have, kids that are going to be going to college and they need to co-sign on a college student loan for them in 4 years, and they're 12 years old right now, but they're going to be going to school soon. I mean, there's a lot of serious stuff here that need to be taken into consideration. Now, for all you realtors on the call, when I want you guys to, this one drives me nuts, because the other myth is like, well, the only one who's benefiting from this whole transaction is the realtor, because they're going to get a big fat commission check at your expense. And this is the lack of education out there, guys. We all know, and if you don't know this, now you do, but realtors' commissions are paid from the proceeds of the transaction, which comes out of the proceeds received by the net from the bank on a short sale. So there is no charge. And I don't recommend a seller or a realtor or a processing company or anybody should ever, I'm totally against that, charge a seller directly for your services. I just don't believe in that. I'm very ethical. I don't think that's the right way to do. So that's just another complete big myth. And Mike, you sort of pointed it out, and we sort of mentioned this as we were just going back and forth. And it's important to understand, you guys, and here's the best way to understand how bankruptcy works from everything I get that I've done and I've understood is BKs is basically like, imagine taking all your debt, throwing it in a garbage bag, throwing your credit cards, your hospital bills, you can't BK student loans, but any and all debt, you throw it into a garbage bag. And basically when somebody files a bankruptcy, what happens is that they're going to actually freeze. All debt collection activity must cease, okay? It's frozen until all that debt is liquidated and discharged for the most part, all right? And what happens is, like what Mike just mentioned, is that the property in the foreclosure process will eventually pick back up, and the property will eventually get foreclosed on, because that's the only way for the lender to deed it back to themselves from the borrower, and it does go onto their credit. Now, I had a guy here in Chicago, Mike, one of the largest bankruptcy firms. It was about 12 months ago. I met with him, and his big thing was, well, my borrowers don't want to be out of the house. They want to be in the house, They don't want to be, they definitely don't want to leave. And if you do a short sale, you're going to make them leave a lot quicker. Mike, from all the short sales you've done, you know that you can pretty much kick out any upcoming sale date through the loss mitigation departments. And any borrower, if they're in that situation, they can very well use their state's foreclosure timeline to their advantage.
True, and there are, we've had Texas. When I came up from Texas, it's not like in Illinois where you've got 6, 7, 8, 9 months to deal with a pending foreclosure. Yeah. Texas, you got 21 days from the time they file it to the time they actually take the property foreclosure. And we were usually, a lot of times we were getting foreclosure stopped within 2 or 3 days of the auction, which is, unless you have the techniques and the ability to do that, it can be a little bit harder. But people can actually stay in their houses. What I've found, and I don't know if you found the same thing, Mike, but I have found that people can stay in their houses longer if they're doing a short sale.
Exactly right. You could kick it. And does it cost anything, Mike?
Well, I would never tell a homeowner to miss a payment, but I can tell you that none of the people that we're doing short sales for are making payments.
Sure. If you have a house in sale in Texas, it's 21 days from the NOD. If you have a house going to sale and you sent in a short sale package, can you buy the borrower more time just by doing the short sale, probably a couple more months?
Absolutely, and that's what we usually will tell them is, look, if you don't do the short sale, the house is going to sell the Tuesday of next month, the first Tuesday of the month. If we do the short sale and we're successful at getting it stopped, which we usually are, you could be in your house for an additional 5 to 6 months.
Yep, and that's the point. So just based on and I'm going through this because I have a lot of other stuff to go through with you guys, but just based on just this little thing, can you guys now see how you can actually give a value offer proposition to a bankruptcy attorney per se? Knowledge is power, you guys. Knowledge is absolutely power, and when you know the ins and outs, especially when you're dealing with distressed properties and helping homeowners. And look at this. Think about it from this point of view. What kind of strategic relationship can you really work out with just, say, a bankruptcy attorney, okay? in attorney states, attorneys are paid on the short sale closings. You know, this is another stream of income for an attorney. Do you know how powerful this is? Okay, this is like game-changing stuff here, because think about it. All right, the average price that I've seen most attorneys charge to handle a bankruptcy is $2,000 to $2,500. I don't know if you see the same thing, Mike, across the board.
Yeah, between two and 3,000 is probably accurate. Yes.
So $2,000 and $3,000. Now, if we tell that attorney, okay, Mr. Attorney, and you know, there's attorney states and non-attorney states, mainly Illinois and New York, but if I could tell that bankruptcy attorney, say, hey, okay, now we have to do the short sale and get rid of this problem for the homeowner. You know, on your short sale, on the closing, you're going to be paid title fees, you're going to be paid attorney's fees, and those could range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 more. You can literally double an attorney's income. Now, I know what a lot of people are already thinking. They're pretty much thinking, oh, well, my state's not an attorney state. The lender will never approve an attorney fee on the HUD. Well, I beg to differ, because when you know how to truly mitigate loss, and you know how to negotiate short sales, and what it comes down to is cents on the dollar, right? Is the bank going to net more on a foreclosure, 50 cents on a foreclosure versus 59 cents on a short sale? That's what it comes down to. And in the event that that borrower or that lender or servicer says, no, I don't care, we're not going to pay any attorney's fees, I would gladly, I have an attorney review every short sale approval letter so that the customer or client can close on this property once they receive a settlement and have a licensed attorney actually read it, okay? This is no different than when I was selling a lot of houses just on a traditional level. I would always pay for my buyer's home inspection fees. I would always pay for my client's attorney's fees on their deals. And that was just sort of my service thing. And can you pay your attorney fee to have them review and for services rendered? Absolutely. You can absolutely pay that. I mean, you guys, this is a lead you in a deal you would have never had otherwise.
Right.
Okay, so you have to look at it from that point of view. And what I love doing, Mike, and this is actually a good one, maybe we'll talk about this later on next time I see you, but, you know, attorneys go, hey, Mike, let's role play real quick. Mike, you're an attorney, all right?
Yes.
How much an hour are you?
Well, anywhere between 250 and 400, depending on if I like you.
All right, so how long does it take me to give me a name and a number?
About 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, if I could turn that 2 seconds, and when I end up closing a short sale, and on a short sale you make $500 to $1,000, now you're worth like $40,000 an hour. You want to talk to me now?
Yes. In fact, I'm going to shut down the rest of my businesses and just work with you, sir.
Yeah. And that's literally how it goes, you guys. I mean, it's really this is a business, you know, and for a lot of agents that are like, well, I don't want to take away from my commission. You know what? This is a deal you would have never had. You would have gladly paid $1,000 to close that transaction. And it's not, and this is a whole other topic, but it's the business you pick up off a distressed listing is all, you know, that's a whole other can of worms. But you guys, knowledge is power, you know, and I tell people, don't stop there. That was just for bankruptcy attorneys. Well, in a down economy, Mike, how many people are filing divorces right now?
Oh, a ton of them. More marriages don't work than do work.
And gee, I wonder why is that? Because, you know, we stop making money and then we get yelled at by our spouses. You know, but you guys think about this. That was just one strategic alliance, okay? And I honestly cannot stand when people are like, I can't get business in this market. You guys, I could trip over a short sale on my way home tonight because imagine the foreclosure defense attorneys. The vast majority of them, I mean, we're seeing a lot of interesting stuff happen across the nation on the foreclosure defense approach, as a lot of attorneys are applying a litigation aspect to it, which is very interesting. Again, another can of worms, but the vast majority of foreclosure defense attorneys don't really have an exit strategy other than avoiding the inevitable. You know, they're going to kick the sale date out, they're going to file discovery, they're going to go into all that stuff. You know, these loan modifications, okay, how many loan mods end up in default? 60% of them? Do you not think that those entities have a huge pipeline of possible referrals for you? And that's what it comes down to. Because what people don't know and what any of these entities don't know how to do is they don't know how to literally do anything with that deal. Now, not only can you show them what they can do with the deal, but you're giving them a value-added service, making them more valuable, and your fees don't, and it doesn't cost them a penny. They're not going to charge those borrowers. In addition, they're going to be paid from the short sale or from you, depending on your state and whatever you work out. So, Mike, did I make that clear? I get really excited when I talk about this stuff just because I love lead generation and I love strategic alliances and all that stuff. But did that make sense to you?
Yeah, it absolutely does. The goal isn't, and the attorney that I've talked to up here, she got it. She realized for her it was strictly numbers, that, hey, maybe it was, she was looking how many people can she help, but it was also how much money can I make, is this worth my time? And when she sat in her room and she looked at 150 files and she went, man, 75 of those could have been short sales. 75 times 2,500, there's $187,000 just for putting a file together.
And if they're doing the borrowers a favor, which is the best part.
Right.
Yeah, and what do? They sign up, they review a short sale approval letter that says in plain English, hey, this is a settled account, that you're going to be forgiven the balance, and that's really all they're doing. I mean, right. This is a win-win for everybody, you guys. So that's a little bit on strategic alliances. I'd love to go more on into this, but there's another point I want to go through, and this just drives me nuts. And I don't care if you're an investor, you're an agent, but database marketing is huge, you guys, and I'm a big fan. I came from the Keller Williams background, which is a very touch your sphere of influence 24 to 32 times a year, and stay in front of those that you know. And for real estate agents and for any investors listening on this, you need agents who understand this, okay? Because you have to, as an agent, I don't look at myself necessarily as an agent. I look at myself as a marketer, because real estate is a popularity contest, okay? The more people that know you or know of you and know what you do, the more business you have, the more deals you do. Every successful business has systems, and so do the marketers. It's just a proven fact. And I want you to look through some of these statistics of where people are buying and selling properties. And I don't care if you're in a down market, a distressed market, an appreciating market, it doesn't matter. All of this stuff is the same thing. Database marketing is something that every agent should be doing. If you're an investor, you should be doing. Everyone needs to know what you do, okay? Now, 83% of buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent, okay? 48% of their buyers found their agent through a referral. 88% of sellers were assisted by an agent in their transaction, and 86% of them were somewhat satisfied with their agent, okay? 41% of those found their agent through a referral, and 83% will do repeat business with that individual. You guys, this is very fundamental, basic concept that you have to grasp and you have to understand, and you will absolutely prosper. And it's not rocket science. Mike, do I look like a rocket scientist?
Wow. Maybe listening to you on the phone, but after seeing you, no.
So, and this is honestly how I value every client. And I ask my agents this when I'm training my own agents and I train some of my students, and I'm like, you guys, every person that you know or know of, they're a $25,000 bill to you, okay? Because the average person will buy roughly 2 to 5 properties in the course of their lifetime. If you have an average sale price of $200,000 and we're a real estate agent and you're at 2.5%, that's going to be $25,000 per borrower. Now, the point of working your sphere of influence and consistently building your sphere of influence is that the chances of them using you and referring you business just grow greater, okay? That is really all it is. And on this statistic right here, 41.4% of businesses count on referrals for over 80% of their sales. This isn't real estate. This is across the board. This is small business, and that's what real estate agents are, is that they're small business. Now, Mike, for a lot of these investors that are on this call here too, I don't understand why they're not licensed. I don't understand why they wouldn't be glad. Investors independently are very good at getting leads. Do you agree with me on that?
I do, and I'm going to let you go because I know exactly where you're going with this.
So if investors are really good at getting leads, that property might not work out for you, Mr. Investor, and when you're not a licensed agent, you can at least collect a referral fee from the transaction on a deal that you found. I mean, I don't get it. I mean, getting a real estate license isn't that difficult. It's really pretty simple, and I'm just trying to show some people some of the possibilities that are out there. And it comes down to this when we talk specifically on short sales and whatnot. And the key, you guys, is really touching your sphere of influence 32 to 36 times a year. Now, I don't mean going over and actually physically touching them, all right? I'm talking about having systems within place in your business that say, hey, I'm here, I'm alive, you guys. This is what I do. And I want to tell you a true story of why I started doing database marketing when I first started. And this is true, and it's sort of funny. And the truth is that I was 22 years old, and I was literally, 22 years old. Not many of my friends were buying houses, Mike. I didn't really have that many clients, and I was in a residential market in the big city, and who's going to take me seriously, on one of their biggest financial investments they may ever make, right?
Right.
And the key was that one of my best friend in the world referred a $400,000 listing to another real estate agent, okay? And I go, dude, what are you doing? I go, I'm a real estate agent. He goes, oh, yeah, I forgot. He goes, why'd you refer the deal? He goes, well, she was cute. And I said, you're killing me. $400,000 sale is $10,000 commission. And I understood the very basic thing is that even my best friend didn't understand that I was in real estate. I mean, he didn't even know what I did, because the people who know or know of you that you know socially know you socially, okay? So if you don't stay on top of your mind, and a lot of people, as much as we would love to think that everyone thinks about us in our business 24/7, they don't. People are preoccupied, their mind's racing a million miles an hour, and your chances of increasing referrals are going to happen literally when you stay on top of people's minds. And by doing that, you have to systematically market to them. Now, I want to put this in a short sale or distress capacity and show you something really quick. I'm actually looking out my office right now at one of my agents, and I'm going to do a Facebook post with him tonight to over 4,000 people on his Facebook friends, and I guarantee he's going to walk away with a listing. But the point is here is, and this stat's old, if only let's just say 24% of the national market is underwater, you got less than 2% of the agents out there actually stating that they're short sale agents. And out of those ones, I bet you 1% of them don't even know what they're doing. It's just a repositioning thing. But long story short, if 1 in 4 people, or 1 in 3 people, more like it nowadays, are underwater on their mortgage, and you have 80% of the realtor business chasing over 50% of the traditional market, you see the opportunity there, guys? It is ginormous. The problem is that most people don't know what you do. If you are a real estate agent, they think you're just a real estate agent. Well, there's a big difference in being a real estate agent and being a short sale expert or being an REO expert. You have to reposition yourself and know exactly what you do. And you guys, this is here. You're looking at my business plan for database marketing, literally. Okay, I'll give it to you right here. Direct mail. I send out a newsletter to them on the 15th of each month. I don't talk about buy this house. Oh, I just got this new listing. I'm not shoving real estate down their throat. I'm just saying, oh, here, this is how you repeal your property taxes because they've gone up in Cook County. Oh, this is where the schedule of the street festivals this year. It's just good contact information. I'm sending them calendars on the Bears game. It's going on their refrigerator, okay? On the 25th of each month, I do a short sale-related social media post, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. And on the 5th of each month, I do a direct email blast. And I'll talk to you real quick about email marketing. I hate when realtors send me these stupid newsletters because I get all of them. You ever get one of those, Mike?
From a marketer?
From like a realtor that says, oh yeah, it's just one of those pre-programmed newsletters, and it's just.
Oh yeah, I get one. There's a guy that I talked to. I did a deal with a guy up in Massachusetts about 3 years ago, and I get an email from him once a month that's a newsletter. Now I don't have a need for him right now in Massachusetts, but if I ever do a short sale up there, guess who I'm going to call? Because he has top of mind awareness for me.
Absolutely, and you're hitting on that point. But the majority of just newsletters that have no meaning or anything, just you end up going in someone's unsubscribed box, okay? And they want to unsubscribe from your email. But let me give you a perfect example of what my highest open rate ever. And you have to stay on top of the news, especially in the distressed market. And, when the credit rating, Mike, went from like AAA to whatever, what are we now, AA? Whatever. That was a hot topic. Everyone's like, oh, my God, what's going to happen? What do you think my subject line was? Well, how the credit drop rating affects the value of your house. Do you not think I had like a 50% open rate on that? That's good content. So it's important what you send on direct mail too, or direct emails, and you want to sort of systemize your business along with current news that brings value to people. All right. Holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. Mike, you're not going to like this one, but my April Fool's mailer every year is the Cubs win the World Series, and I say, April Fools. You know, yeah. I just do cute little funny things that stay in front of the sphere of influence that get people on there. All right. Now, that's database marketing, and I'm going to go through my third thing with you, and this is actually Lee Cronish, my partner, actually brought this up, and this is one of the coolest things that I come across this year. And let me get into it, because this is very, very cool. I get excited when I talk about this. I actually just trained this to my agents last week for the first time. And you guys, you as agents need to really understand what it is your target audience thinks about, okay? There's never been a time in the history of real estate marketing, well, I don't know in the history of real estate marketing, but in real estate that you can find a more direct target market if you're chasing short sale properties. There's never been. I mean, you can't go out and farm an area and be like, hey, I'm just going to farm this neighborhood. What are you talking about? You know, with short sales, you have a direct list. You could get two lists, guys. You could get a 60 to 90-day late list, which is a pre-NOD list, or you can get an NOD list, which everybody has access to. All right, and what I want to go through right here is that the average direct mail response rate, lead capture rate, typically across the United States, I don't care what business you're in, is roughly 1% to 2%. I mean, do you agree with me on that, Mike?
Yes, I do.
So the key is, guys, is, okay, well, how do I market to them? And half the reason of marketing is capturing their interest. And what my partner did is pretty much turned into a hippie for like 18 months and studied, literally studied on what type of direct mail, direct marketing to literally send to somebody who's facing foreclosure on a pre-NOD list. Now, I strongly, strongly recommend, before I go further, is work a pre-NOD list, a 60 to 90-day late list. And the reason why I say that is because when it is pre-NOD, okay, and this goes for investor or agent, when it is pre-NOD, they're not being bombarded by everyone and their mother, okay? Because once that notice of default is filed, what typically happens is that they get mailers from bankruptcy attorneys, foreclosure defense, you got realtors, you got investors. I mean, you got 20 different people sending you the exact same message. And that's what's crazy about it. But a pre-NOD is going to not have that many people contacting them and sending them direct mail. Now, what's cool about this is that you really got to understand the mindset of who you're trying to reach. And that's what gets very interesting here. So again, I recommend a pre-NOD list, okay? Pre-notice of default list is what I mean by that. And I want to show you sort of the mindset that Lee actually found out on what he got the best response rates. Marketing like 101, I think it was Dan Kennedy, I don't know, but I'm not into big cold marketing. I'm a strategic alliance relationship guy, but when it comes to getting short sale leads, I'm a big fan of direct mail, but direct mail with the right message, okay? And these are, and you guys are going to write anything down. This is what you concentrate on, because Lee's direct mail provides roughly 18 to 20% response rate, which is absolutely insane. And people who are in a pre-NOD mindset, Lee calls them delusional, okay? Most borrowers, Mike, from your experience, what do you think most borrowers who miss their pre-NOD, they miss their first payment, they miss their second payment, what's their first sort of, okay, this is my option? What do most people think from your experience?
Well, in Texas, it's a little different. What I found up here, where they have a little bit longer, their feeling is that they're really not going to go to foreclosure. They're gonna wait as long as they can. They're gonna try and figure out friends, family, people they can borrow money from. But then once they finally get to that stage where they realize nothing's going to happen, they're looking for something an alternative to do that. They don't want to hear what you have down there. They don't want to hear the truth till it's too late.
So hit it on the dot. They don't want to hear the term short sale. They
right.
don't want to hear the term foreclosure. They're completely delusional, and the majority of them do not even know what they're thinking of. But what do they get in the first missed payment? They get offers of loan modifications. They get offers of, here, modify your loan. Or they get the debt collector calls and say, hey, you should apply for a loan modification. Okay? And loan mods in the last 1 to 2 years, I think 2012 is the year of the short sale. That's my personal opinion. I think that's finally being publicly educated through all media, government, you name it. But most borrowers would immediately seek a loan modification, right? And the percentage, and that's their first alternative. So if I want to reach somebody, okay, and I want to reach somebody that is only 60 to 80 days late, what should my message say? My message should have something to do with a loan modification, okay? How about the explanation of a loan modification? How about the alternatives to foreclosure? How about the truth of what all their alternatives are? And I'm a firm believer is that if you just tell people in all honesty, their honest to God opinions, that people will actually love just to know all of their options in a non-BS way. And here's what it comes down to when I mean explanation of a loan modification. Well, let's see what a loan modification is, all right? It's a 5-year interest-only arm for the most part. I don't care if you get your rate down to 1%. This is the truth of the matter, and this is the problem. If you owe $500,000 on a house that's worth $300,000, you're only kicking the can down the road. I'm sorry. You know, in 5 years, when that arm expires, when that interest-only arm goes up to whatever the market rate's going to be, I mean, with the inflation, we have no choice but to go up in interest rates. They're still going to owe $500,000 on an asset that's worth $300,000. That's the truth of the matter. And most borrowers don't understand that. Most borrowers don't get that very point. They don't understand that, wow, I'm just kicking the can down the road. In 5 years, they're going to be stuck in the same position. And what I'm getting at here is that your marketing to target your first mailer, you know, you should always do this in like a 4-step mailer system. Okay, and the first mailer should be advising them on the alternatives of foreclosure, the explanation of a loan modification. But it should do something about a loan mod because you're going to have a higher success rate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that we also that I've also found is that when they wait till it's too late, I've seen it where we'll send out 5 or 6 different marketing pieces, and that's kind of, I mean, my approach is a little bit different than yours, but we'll send out 5 or 6 different marketing pieces. They may not respond to the first one because everybody's sending them something, but it's that 4th or 5th one when they get to a point where they finally, it sinks in, that's when they start to respond sometimes.
Absolutely. And yeah, and it has to be done in a multi-step campaign too. Absolutely. But yeah, you got to hit them, and you got to hit them with what they're thinking at that point. And that's why we say the delusional mindset on a pre-NOD list, the loan mod, tends to work the best from what we've seen on a week-to-week 4-step campaign over a 30-day period. All right. Now, what happens to the post-NOD people? Okay, if you're going to market to this crowd, what happens to the post-NOD people? You know, these are a lot of borrowers. Their mindset tends to change from what we found out. And what happens is that, yeah, they still look at the loan modification, but look at all of these programs coming out to you. You know, they tend to be what Lee calls the greed mindset, all right, where they're like, oh, yeah, screw the bank. I'm going to go occupy Oakland or whatever that crap is out there right now, you know. They're going to occupy their house, and they're going to drag it out for as long as possible, and the bank owes them money, and you know, they get letters and they hear stuff online, like, for example, Chase's program, which I think is great. Chase pays on Chase-owned notes, they pay up to $20,000, and now I've heard up to $45,000 to do a short sale. And these are sort of the mentality sort of shifts during that time frame, you know. And people, you have to change your marketing message based on who you're actually marketing to. Okay, so if you're marketing to an NOD list, you know, you should be focused on, okay, well, your loan, based on your loan, you may qualify for a program up to $30,000. You know, those are the messages that get the higher results. You know, the explanation of the loan modification. All right, that's very, very important just to know from a marketing mindset. Now, the last sort of group, and there's a few of our students that just prey on this group, and they're good at it. And you see people like when the sale date's been set, or Mike here in Illinois, we have a judgment date, and once the judgment date comes, the sale date's usually set 90 days from that point, and that's what we sort of call the desperation move. They're a lot easier to work with. People tend to cold call. You could cold call these borrowers, and they'll do whatever you say. They're sort of give up. You know, they're just desperate to do whatever. They don't, you know, they don't know the effects of their credit. And this is the strongest time to recommend a short sale, in my experience, on the direct marketing aspect of it. Generally speaking, people don't like to talk to realtors about a short sale scenario, and I think that's crazy. You know, they look at realtors as realtors, which is why we term them as default advocates. Just little wording can really, really change your message in a magnitude of ways. Literally, it could really, really change your message. So it's very, very, very important. And I could give you one example of this, and this is pretty typical of a borrower that, you know, will call me when they're in this situation, and they'll say, "Hey, yeah," I'll be like, "You know what? My attorney just told me to let it go to foreclosure." I'm like, "Okay, really? I mean, how many mortgages do you have on it, or how many loans do you have on the property?" Let me say, "Oh, I got a first mortgage, and I have a home equity line of credit with X bank, whatever." I go, "Really? That's interesting that you got that advice from an attorney." I'm not an attorney, but did you know that HELOC, when it goes to foreclosure, the rights to collect on that debt on that HELOC will not cease to exist, sir? Did you know that debt will be collectible and it'll either go to that lender's recovery department or sold to a third-party debt collection company, and they will squeeze you for it? Yeah, sir, they did do that. You know, that debt might have already been bought by a debt collector, and it's all about scripting at that point. And when you tell people the truth and you know the ins and outs of liens, mortgages, all that fun stuff, and you know you're marketing that type of mentality, your success rates and your turnover and your close rates are going to go through the roof. I don't know, Mike, if you've ever come across those three mindsets or looked at it in that way. I didn't. This is something that is new to me. Lee's done it, and I have a lot of our students that are doing this, and they're working. They're able to help people just by educating them.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be open to the conversation, and I think at the very start, a lot of times they're not open to the conversation. Sometimes the homeowner is looking for, you know, they go into it skeptical. Well, what does this guy want? How come they're helping me for free? What do they get out of this? This is all about them. So I think the approach of you're helping them, you're not asking for anything in return. You're looking out for what might be their best interest, even though they don't realize it or know it. I think you can get across to them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And just by it's really interesting after you take these calls from borrowers and I ask them how many months late, I immediately know what mode they're in, and I know how to talk to that borrower differently based on where they're at in the process.
Yeah,
so it's very, very powerful, and it's what I believe is something that is super, super, super true. So, in a nutshell, what Lee ended up breaking down these three things into was that he pretty much did, if you're going to market to a pre-NOD list, his highest success rates are through direct mailers, door drops, door hangers, and door knocking. I know door knocking sounds very, very old school, and some people, it's not going to be for everybody, but literally these little outside the thing marketing are what we've seen proven the highest success. Whereas an NOD is a face-to-face meeting on the alternatives to all their foreclosures and just giving them the truth. The chances of them working with you are going to increase, you know, drastically. You know, and then the pre-sale date here that I'm highlighting right here is you can typically even just cold call these people, and they're easier to talk to, but definitely get face-to-face with them. So it's very, very important that you understand the mindset, not only for scripting and conversion, but just on your marketing messages alone, how to literally just go ahead and target those individuals based on where they're at and where you're getting your data, from. Again, just sort of like a quick recap here. You know, you have the referrals, lawyers, agents, accountants, guys. I'm a huge firm believer in building your power team. You know, and literally building your power team with, you have somebody in every single area so that you're like a one-stop shop. You know, you have your divorce attorney, you have your foreclosure defense attorney, you have people that you trust that are really ethical and they do the right thing for the homeowner at the end of the day. And the referral exchange within your groups is what is very, 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 very powerful. Now, quick thing on this, and we're just about wrapped up here, Mike, but you guys got to know how to block and systemize your week. You know, for example, if I was doing direct marketing, I would really do my direct marketing on Saturdays. So every Saturday, I'm going to do stage 1. Next Saturday, stage 2. Next Saturday, stage 3. Next Saturday, stage 4. And then I'm going to repeat that process again with a different list the following month. And a lot of times, you see a lot of people, I see a lot of people fail because they're not systematic in their marketing approaches. You know, blocking and systemizing your week is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful. And once you get that momentum, I mean, literally, it'll keep going. And it's just getting to that momentum point per se. And I gave you guys 3 different things you can do right off the bat that if you do them right and you do them systematically, it'll work. It'll be just like clockwork for you. This, Mike, I'm going to skip past this part right here because this is pretty much some more loss mitigation stuff. But I do want to stay on this slide. And for all those realtors, don't be a dinosaur. Seriously, the market's changed. Use the technology, use the education out there, and you know, make a difference. Make a difference out there. You know, this is sort of what we advocate for. You know, we tell the truth. Okay, always tell the truth. You don't need to be a slick salesman. People are going to gravitate to you because you're accountable, you're responsible, you're genuine. You know, I firmly believe that if you just educate people, that the business and the leads will follow. You can educate them through a number of different ways. I've given you guys 3 really good ways. You can educate the attorneys on how you can help them with that extra business. You can educate your database on what's going on with the marketplace. And you can educate people you don't even know on what the alternatives to their options truly are. And just speak the truth. That's really, really it, you know. I didn't go through any social media stuff, but Mike, I'll turn this back over to you.
Yeah, I know that we had, and I kind of wrote this as we went along, we had several hundred people that could not get on the call, Mike. I mean, this was completely full. So we are going to replay this on www.truelife360.com. It'll be up in a couple days. But we kind of wanted to make an offer out there for those who did not get on the call. February 10th through 12th down in West Palm Beach, Florida, we're going to have an event. The True Life 360 group is going to have an event down there at the West Palm Beach County Convention Center. We have a room block that is blocked off. So we do have some options on hotels. We're going to be going over rehabs, lead generation, short sales, business coaching, and consulting. And we're going to show you how to get 20 deals in 90 days. 20 deals in 90 days to jumpstart your short sale business. Dovetail, Real Flow are going to be there, and Jeff Watson, who is currently going back and forth to Washington. I know that you're involved with the coalition to help investors out and kind of change things. Well, Jeff Watson is going to be at our event, and he is working with Fannie and Freddie to do some pretty interesting things. And the event's going to be the first one he's actually going to have these documents to show you how to do business in 2012. So go to www.shortsalerehabweekend.com and go ahead and click to the next one, Mike. We are going to make a special offer tonight because we had so many people that wanted in on the call. We're basically to give you this event for free. Here's how it works. The event is $297, but for the next 24 hours, you can go to shortsalerehabweekend.com and use the coupon code LEADS. Tonight, you'll get a $200 discount because we have to, we have some expenses we have to pay down there. So you're going to get charged $97 for this 3-day event. Well, when you come to the event and you show up and you say, hey, I registered online, we'll have an account of that, we're going to write you a check for $97, as soon as you get there. So the event is a free event. And that's one thing that for the people that didn't get online, and I know there's a bunch of people listening just that called in that couldn't get into the call because it was locked out. I am sending out an email as we speak, so you're going to get this in an email as well. And I think it just hit everybody's email. I've had a bunch of people that have opened it. Over 200 have already opened the email. So, again, 24 hours. This is a neat event, Mike. These are all people that you know as well, involved in the short sale business and real estate business, and it's just an opportunity. We're not gurus. I don't wear flashy suits. You can hardly get me out of my Lululemon pants half the time. So, in a sweatshirt. So we're just people that are in the business, doing the business, and we want to share ideas and be around like-minded people. So I'd encourage you to go to that website, shortsalerehabweekend.com, put in the username or the coupon code LEADS, and you'll get a $200 discount. And then you will get charged $97 because we got to hold the seat so we know how many people are coming. But when you get to the event, we're going to write you a check for $97, so it will be a free event.
Not bad, people. A true story, how I met Jeff Watson. I actually paid $1,500 to go see him speak about 2 years ago. You guys get to go see Jeff speak for free. I mean, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Well, my first time I met Watson, I was following him around like a little lost puppy dog. I was so intrigued by what he had to say, and so it's going to be a pretty neat deal. And you'll find that a lot of these events, you're going to see people all across the country once you start to get involved with these, and everybody's really, within our group, we're all friends, and that's really what we want. We want to develop a group of people that are, think the same way and are interested in helping people out. I got to brag on Mike. There was a deal that we're doing up here in Chicago area, and I think Mike and I are both kind of cut from the same fabric as far as being cautious about who we work with. But Mike is not a greedy person, and there's another realtor from another group that showed me the house, and Mike could have said to him, you know what, you buy it with this guy, but I want to list the property. I want all that money. What did Mike do? Cuevas said, no, this guy brought you the house. He brought you a good deal. You give it back to him on the other end of this thing and let him have all that profit. He knows how to build relationships. That's the kind of people that I like to be around, people that see the big picture. This realtor now, because he's getting the back end of this, now this guy is finding deals left and right and bringing deals every day. I probably look at 5 to 10 of his properties that he's bringing a day because he knows that he's working with people that aren't greedy. And when you try and lay out relationships and you're working, you've got to be honest. You have to believe that people are honest. Not everybody is, but I always go with the assumption people are honest. They're not going to cheat me. And if everybody does this and you kind of play it down, what is it called? Pay it back. If you pay it forward. It sounds like George Bush, don't it? If you pay it forward, then good things can happen. So that's just right off the bat. I knew that I wanted to be around Mike and work around Mike.
Cool, thank you. So I hope I brought you guys some value. I hope you saw some other things in a different light. If you guys ever have me back, talk for 3 days, 5 days in a row. But I'll be glad to, whatever I could do to help these guys because they aren't gurus, and that's what I like about them.
Yeah.
I'm not a guru myself, but I appreciate it. So thank you, Mike, and I hope everybody enjoyed the call, and that's it.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. We will replay this on www.truelife360.com. It should be up within the next couple of days.